what is I want you to tell me a little bit about California misdemeanor, you know, judicial diversion, how to get case dismissed. Like, tell me stuff these are some of the things you specialize in. How to get things
Yes.
dismissed, right? That's
Yes.
probably key. Nobody wants nobody wants to go to.
Nobody wants to deal with this. Look, no, you don't want a case on your record. You don't want to have to deal with, jail time or serious amounts of community labor. When you see people picking up trash on the side of the road with the big spears or like cleaning off graffiti, this is really serious stuff. You don't want it to affect you professionally. If you, in California, past few years, they passed a law. This is Penal Code Section 1001.95, misdemeanor judicial diversion. What this means is if you are charged with a very minor crime and you are suitable, maybe you don't have a lot on your record or anything on your record, you can show it was either a mistake or you're sure remorse. It wasn't a very serious thing. You can get placed on diversion by the judge, which means go do a class, go do community service, stay out of trouble, and then they will dismiss and seal your case. So it can no longer be used against you. It can't show up on background checks. And you're allowed to say by law, no, I never had a case. No, I never got arrested.
Interesting.
That's the strength of it. Yeah, that's why people do it.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. So tell me a little bit about the importance of like a local criminal defense lawyer, versus like a large firm. People always think like you said, like big law movies and big law shows, giant firm suits and stuff. What's the difference between that and like what something like you would do?
So when people ask, oh, is it like Suits or is it like Partner Track on Netflix, stuff like that, I say don't watch those shows for accuracy. They're fun, but really what you want to do is you want to watch The Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix. You got one attorney, two paralegals, an investigator. That's how criminal practice is. It's all small offices. It's all local guys. Those are the guys that can help you the most. If you go with some of these larger firms that have popped up the last few years, it's not that they're bad attorneys, but they're taking cases all over the state sometimes. They don't have any relationships with the judge or the prosecutor in that particular courtroom. I mean, I'm one block from the Burbank Courthouse. I know all the judges. I know all the DAs or city attorneys in that building. I know the clerks by first name. I know the bailiffs. They know who I am. And so they take you seriously when you come in and you have an offer that you want to pitch to them to get your client a deal. They know that you're not messing around. And they know there's no gamesmanship, because if I do something unethical, or if I do something sort of a jerk move, I'm going to have to see him again tomorrow. There's no reason to do that. Some of the attorneys can get away with, doing something that's a little bit more aggressive because they know that they're not going to see this person again, perhaps, or they're not going to be in this courtroom again for a while. And that's not good for your client.
Right.
Because they won't take you seriously.
Wow. It's very interesting. So it's kind of like you're taking your small town approach, right? And applying to the big town.
Yeah. Look, Los Angeles County has about 30 courthouses, and I think more than half of those have criminal departments. So that means, it's 10 million people. There's a lot of different regions in the county where you have criminal cases. And so if you know the area and you know the judges and the prosecutors, you can do very well. Whereas I might, for instance, if I were to be sent a case down in Long Beach, I don't think I've been inside the Long Beach courthouse in a couple of years. Because of all the cross-pollination, all the transfers, I might still know someone in that building, but it's not my area. I don't go there. I have a friend who lives in Long Beach, and he does all of his cases in Long Beach and Downey and the sort of South LA area. He'd be a better choice, I think.
Interesting. So it's really about like to your benefit and to anybody in like say the town's benefit, like Burbank, to just use a lawyer who is in the water there, right?
That's my belief. That's how I do business, and that's what I believe is the best option.
Yeah.
Some of these attorneys, look, some of them are excellent attorneys. I know a few that do cases all over Southern California, but really what you're paying for is their experience, their many, many years of experience where they know, and they may not know the like procedure inside the courtroom if they're going someplace they've not been before. But you could also hire one of these larger firms that take cases all over the state. When I worked for one of those firms years ago, I was in a different courtroom every day. I was driving all over the state. I think I had 80 or 90 cases, some of them very serious, and I was never in the same courtroom, never in front of the same judge twice.
Wow.
That can't be, that's not the way to practice this. In some fields you have to. In some of these like litigation firms, these civil litigation firms, many times you don't really go to court. They do status conferences, but you're aiming towards settlement.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter if you know, there's no prosecutor. It doesn't matter if you know the judge as much. It's probably good to be familiar with them, but it doesn't matter. In criminal court, I'm in court every day in one of the courtrooms that I know very well, and that's where I do my work.